Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 211 of a year of change. Today is the start of week 31 for us, and things are looking a little bit better. We'll get into what we're going to be doing for the week, but I just sort of wanted to revisit yesterday. I sort of finished everything off. I had tweaked things during the week to get away from the junk food and sort of get back on track and stuff like that. Hadn't really watched my sodium and my sugar levels as well as I should have, but really focused in on eating better, and I think the sunflower seeds probably what did me in. But I was expecting to actually gain over during the week, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was that was going to cause it. But it was just one of those feelings that I had. But turns out, nope, didn't gain at all. In fact, lost quite a bit. From my last weigh-in, I've lost 4.4 pounds. But I have to take into account as well that if you remember last Sunday, I did my weigh-in and I had gained a bit. But then the next day, I was down like 1.5 pounds or something. So even taking that off, though, I'm looking at almost 3 pounds throughout the week. So it sort of goes to show what you can do with just 1 week's difference. Going from having what I thought in my head, obviously not, but what I thought was just, I can have a snack here or there and don't really need to watch too much as long as my calories are where they need to be and the sodium and the sugar and everything else. I can have some snacks every now and then. That's sneaking in to our eating habits. That shows you exactly how much damage can be done. That aside from just gaining during that week, when I stopped doing it, really didn't change a whole lot. And as you'll see in a second, sodium and sugar levels were not where they needed to be. So it probably would have been much, much better if they were. But even with just that, getting rid of, sort of getting back on track and saying, no, I don't want to do this. I want to, anyway. Getting to that point, there has been significant progress. So I'm happy with it. I know that the 4.4 isn't exactly how much I've lost this week. I figure that it's a bit less but even if I divide that between 2 weeks, it's still 2 pounds a week. So very pleased. Anyway, seeing as today is pretty much our last week on sugar, that we're going to be really heavily focused on it. I will revisit just quickly, because normally I was going to do this every 4 weeks, but I figured just to give you an idea, to give you a frame of reference for this week, even though I think it's because I had the sunflower seeds, there was a lot of sodium in that, and I've been eating a lot more along the lines of mustard and Frank's sauce, which has a lot of sodium but no calories. So my sodium levels are quite high this week. They're 3,147 milligrams, which is not great. They should be under 2,300. That's where we need to be healthy. So I'm going to continue working on that this week and see where that goes. However, my sugar, which is the main thing that we're trying to focus on, we've been trying to get below, we were trying to do a 10% loss, which unfortunately I have been unsuccessful in doing. Well, to be fair, I haven't really been focused on it, so that's probably why. But my levels this week in total is over 700 grams, which is not good. I'm eating, just barely, like 703 for the week. So I'm averaging around 100 grams per day. Now, that is sugar across the board. So with this, it's higher than it should be, but it's almost all coming from fruits. And I did have, mix with my rum, so I think that's where a lot of the sugar is coming from, and alcohol as well, so that's not healthy. But that's actually probably why it's way, way above. So if I took those out, I have no idea how much it would be. Anyway, but we're going to go with that because that's what my diet was this week. So that's my level for the week, was 100 per day. So it's a little difficult to sort of gauge. We've talked about how it's in general anyway, men should have at most 9 teaspoons of added sugar per day. Women should have 6. Depending on your height and your weight, then obviously there's some fluctuation in there. So we've sort of evened it out to around 7 or 8. We'll say 7 just to be on the healthy side. So you're looking at 7 teaspoons of sugar a day. So roughly 28, 29 grams. Even if you round that up and say 7.5, good enough. We'll do it right at 30 and say 30 grams. That's right. Yes, 4 times 7.5. Good enough. We'll say 30 grams of sugar per day, of added sugar. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. Almost slurred my words again there from yesterday. We talked, or not yesterday, but we slurred our words. We talked about this last week as well. The difference between sugar in our dietary sugar and added sugar. And the added sugar is the part that everyone seems to focus on. It's almost to a point where wherever you look, they're saying, well, if it's sugar from fruit, although it's still sugar, then you don't really need to count that. You're mainly concerned about added sugar. And that's stuff in processed foods, fizzy drinks, snacks, junk food, stuff like that. So that's what we've sort of been focusing on. We've been focusing on our sugar intake in general, but there's always sort of been that, in the back of our head, well, I'm getting a lot of sugar, but it's all from fruit, so I'm okay. MyFitnessPal doesn't really seem to differentiate between sugar and added sugar unless, you want to go in and sort of manually count those out each week to look at. So that's why we're just sort of looking at our stuff overall. But I guess where people are different heights and weights and sizes and shapes and everything else, it is difficult to try to have one number where you say, okay, 30 grams, that's it. That's all that you can have. Anything above that, obviously we have an issue. And we are trying to cut back. We should be, which I'm going to do. But my sugar has obviously gone right through the roof this week as well. But overall, sugar has no nutritional value to us. All it is, it's a quick burst of energy, and if we don't use it right away, it usually gets turned into fat. We've seen that time and time again. So having that added sugar in there, especially because with added sugar, it gives you that spike. If you down a Coke, or if you have an ice cream, or if you have a cookie or something, that energy that you're getting, it's going to give you that quick burst, and that's what it's designed for. When we have it with fruit, it's because it's mixed in with all the other fibers and things like that, so it gets released a little slower, so you can burn it throughout the day, and it doesn't seem to be as bad. But the added stuff is really our main concern. So there's a difference of opinion in how much we should actually be eating in added sugar, because they know that you just can't simply get away from it. We're going to use it. We're going to use it in our coffee, on cereal, or whatever it is that you decide to use it for. There is that practical aspect to it, which I understand. Some of it is from the sugar people saying, no, it's perfectly fine. Have 10 cups a day. It's great. We can't obviously do that. So we need to sort of gauge how much is enough. And there are some people that are saying, well, you can have up to 30% of your calories. No, I'm sorry, that's a little too high. I think it's 25%. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, 30%. Anywhere between 25, I'm looking at my cheat sheet and I'm like, that doesn't look right. Anywhere between 25 and 30% of your calories should come from added sugar. However, there are some iffy responses to that. The American Heart Association also says that, well, in combination, added sugar, not just sugar in general, so maybe that 25 to 30% is, sugar content. But they're saying no more than that percentage of your calories per day should be coming from a sugar source. But they also say, well, when you look at added sugar and solid fats, so saturated fats, which we talked about, things like butter, margarine, I don't know if cheese would probably get counted in there as well. Animal fats that are solid at room temperature. So in combination with that, added sugar and solid fats or saturated fats combined shouldn't be any more than 15% of your total daily caloric intake. So I think just where it's a little bit easier to sort of look at that aspect of it, aside from the added sugar part, which is, it's a little tough to try to see it. Obviously, when you have coffee or tea or something like that, you get added sugar in there. Anything that's going to be processed is going to have added sugar in there. When you're looking at it that way and say, okay, good enough, I know that there's 4 grams per teaspoon, need to sort of curb that. It's a little easier to count that combined with the fats that you're taking in to look at it and say, all right, I have 2,000 calories a day, so any more than 300 for fat, it's probably not the best thing to do. So if you're having, throw in a chunk of butter with potatoes or something, then there's like 70 or 100 calories. So they're just saying, don't throw in 3 every single time. You need to sort of even that out of it. So that's really sort of what we want to wrap things up with this week. Not as a way of saying, well, I can get out of, lowering my sugar, because I still obviously need to. Having too much sugar in my diet has gotten me to where I am right now. Too much sugar, too much food, just in general, but everything gets converted into fat eventually if you don't do anything. So, while we're still concentrating on that, the main thing that we really need to look at, same thing that we did last week, is just the added sugar. And that's really the main concern. That if you're having something, even if you're having something like milk, there's sugar in milk, that's okay. The benefits far outweigh it. The added sugar is really stuff like in my coffee. There's no nutritional value to anything that I put in coffee. It's one of those things that you say, I just need to accept the fact that I'm just eating, sugar, cream, and flavored water. Good enough. If that's your drink, then that's your drink. Or if you're going for, a fancy coffee, like a mocha or a latte or something, then that added sugar and the fat, that's what you're going to be concerned with. Having the sugars and fat that are in vegetables or, even just sort of, bread, you could sort of count that in there as well. But, again, take it sort of in stride. Take a look at the source that it's coming from. And, there's quite a bit of fat in sunflower seeds. It's a better fat. I don't think it would be solid at room temperature. That's right, it wouldn't be because we learned about this. Vegetable oil, in order for them to solidify, it has to be hydrogenated vegetable oil. Vegetable oil. So anything like sunflower oil, now that I think about it, I think you can buy that in bottles as well. So yeah, that is an oil at room temperature, so it's probably okay. Anyway, but there is sugar in there. Sorry, getting off topic here. There's sugar in there as well. There's sugar in pretty much everything that we're looking at. Our main thing is, trying to make healthier choices. Going for, say, mixing in your cereal with oatmeal rather than having just a big bowl of sugary cereal. Which is one thing I'm going to sort of start leaning away from the sugary cereal I've been buying. I thought it was really, really good at the time, but there's still 2 teaspoons of sugar in every serving, which is only 3/4 of a cup. So, granted, that's all I'm having, but if I can find something that's going to be a little bit better, where I don't need to have that added sugar in there, that's probably going to help out quite a bit. I have been adding more oats in there with it, so, cutting back that way has been helping. But the thing is, I don't want to go too far and say, well, good enough, I'm going to have oats and shredded wheat, because then it tastes like nothing. So then, inevitably, you're going to say, well, I can put in a little bit of honey, that'll be okay. Well, then you're just adding the same sugar in there. So, looking at all all things being considered, it's really tough to try to find a good source where you're going to have a low sugar content, low fat content, low sodium content, and still be palatable. Not even something that's, this is so good, I can't believe it, but actually something that just is, something that you're going to be able to eat. Because we've talked about this so many times before that our entire life has revolved around food for a very long time, and expecting us to say, good enough, I'm going to cut out all the stuff that makes food taste good, and, just start eating that, we aren't going to stick with it. And let's be honest, no one is going to want to spend the rest of their life, no matter how fit you're going to end up getting, and, you're not going to want to just always be eating, rice cakes and air-popped hummus corn or whatever else that there is. There is that practical aspect of it, especially for people like us that our lives have revolved around it for so long. We're going to want to still be able to enjoy it. Obviously, not to the extent that we have been. That's why our progress has been so slow as well, because we could obviously speed things up and just cut everything out and just say, good enough. For breakfast, you're having one of those little dried pillows of shredded wheat. That's it. That's all you're having. And then for lunch, you're having, 2 pieces of fruit and 3 pieces of 3 sorts of vegetables. And then for supper at night, then you're having 1 piece of bread, 1 egg, and 4 pieces of vegetable. There you go. That's it for the rest of your life. You can do that, and it will work. We will lose the weight. We will get down to very good weight. We'll start exercising 5 hours a day. You can do all that, and it will work for you. But part of what we've been trying to do over the past few months, and hopefully we still have another 5 months to go, is doing this in a practical sense so that it's something that we can sustain, something that we will be able to stick with, and something that hopefully isn't that difficult to do. Yes, obviously you have bumps in the road. We have weeks where we don't make any progress. We have times when we just don't want to do it anymore. But it's so slow and the changes are so gradual that we really, if we've stopped at any point, we've picked up again. because after a couple of days and you think, I can't really do that for another day. Like, I can't do it 2 days in a row. When Thanksgiving came and went, I had one day where it just went out of control, which actually would have been, no, that was last week. Anyway, I was thinking that might account for my numbers, but nope, that was the week before. But doing it 2 days in a row, just, I don't really want to do that. Not because I'm thinking, well, I'd feel guilty and I have to explain everything. It's the fact that we've made so much progress that I don't want to undo, an entire week's worth of work in a matter of a couple of days. Because working for 7 days and then binge eating for 3, the binge eating is going to take over that. It's going to cancel out those 7 days anyway. So, anyway, this is sort of a conversation that we have all the time, isn't it? It is. However, in general, it was very unexpected that I lost as much as I did. Very unexpected that I lost it all. So I'm very pleased with that. So I'm going to continue on doing what I've been doing, but this week need to really pay close attention to the sodium and the sugar. I sort of threw that out the window when I got back on track, just getting rid of the junk food and trying to, eat regular calories. Although there are some reasons for that. The, mixing in any sort of alcoholic drink, you're going to add in lots of sugar. I think that's the majority of where it's coming from. But that's basically over a 7-day period. So starting today, I'm going to keep tracking everything and hopefully bring my sugars down to where they need to be. I'm going to pay real close attention as well to how much is added sugar and how much is regular sugar. It's going to cost or spend some time, it's going to spend some time. Going to take some time, I guess, to do out the math at the end of the week, just sort of separating, take out all the sugar from fruit and regular foods and just added sugar, things like fizzy drinks and junk food and what's the other thing? Coffee. There we go. Stuff like that. Those are the real concerning ones. So if we can get those down to a proper level, then we're good. If you're getting the majority of your sugar, if you're going through and you're still above, this is not my case. I'm not using this as an excuse for me. But if you're to a stage now where you're still getting 700 grams per week, you're still doing 100 or 150 grams of sugar a day, but you're looking at all your food and none of it is like added sugar. Or even if only your coffee is your added sugar. If everything else that you've been going through, like your sugar is coming from regular food, it's coming from fruits and vegetables, and your snacks are things like sunflower seeds or something that's healthy. Like there's a tremendous amount of sugar in grapes, or dates, even if you're still doing the dates. Having that much sugar, it's not great, but if you're getting it from a source like that, then you're fine. You don't need to adjust it. The main thing is looking at the source. And yes, our bodies treat sugar as sugar. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It doesn't matter, how much you eat. It's still not giving you anything that you really need. But getting it from dates or grapes or fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, just the benefits that you're getting from it, if that's where you need to get that sweet tooth taken care of, then it's far better than taking anything like jujubes like I was, or cookies and cakes and everything else. So I know we keep having this conversation over and over and over again, and the past 4 weeks has really sort of been a matter of we need to lower our sugar intake. And we've been doing it slowly and steadily, but I think the main focus really is sort of turned towards the added sugar. Refined sugar, as people would say. But I don't want to sort of just badmouth that and say, oh, it's evil, because then people say, well, you can just have raw sugar. It's exactly the same. It's all the added stuff that we throw in there. And, that you get from cookies and cakes and ice cream and coffee and milkshakes. We'll use that, because that has ice cream in there as well, which is just milk. Basically, any food source that you have that you would look at and say, okay, you know what? It's from what I would consider to be a fairly healthy food source, you're probably okay. Anything that's already prepackaged, things like milk, you're probably okay with as well. But anything that's prepackaged, whether it's a health food or not, that sort of thing, that's what we're trying to avoid right now. And if we can cut back on that and you're just getting it from fruits and vegetables, then you're golden. You don't need to worry about your levels. Anyway, sort of rehashing a whole bunch of stuff, but it's been a bit of a surprise for today, for me anyway. So I'm going to keep on going the way things are, and it's been a nice little, good way to start my week off, I guess. So I'm going to keep on going, cut my treadmill down, and cut the tracking down a bit to only 300 calories as well, and up the ante on the treadmill, which I did not do yesterday. Probably won't do today. But during the weekdays. That's the main thing. If I keep doing that, you should be fine. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here, so thank you very much for watching. And if you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.